We haven't had some great.
This is the Bike and Pedestrian
Really does.
Committee
Very
on Thursday, May 15th at 6:30. I see all committee members except for Amy. I have a motion to approve the minutes from April 17th,
Motion to approve.
2025. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No members of the public yet, so we'll pause that. Mary Hoke can't be with us today. She sent a very lengthy update. We're gonna touch on a few of them just in our agenda, but I am going to just make a couple quick notes. She's having an event on May 29th for, on gas, May 29th on gas versus electric leaf blowers. I believe this is at the library. I can get some more detail if anybody is interested. For Fairfield Forestry, she said they're happy to report that all but a few dogwoods have been planted, and for the first time they have no inventory for over the summer. She said they planted approximately 135 trees this spring, and that UI still has some leftover work for 2024.
135 trees, you said?
135 trees. She says she's happy to see all the sidewalks going in and would love to coordinate efforts with planting roadside trees. So that's probably something we can consider going forward. And she says there's a lot of public pollinator gardens that they're proud of, and she sent a list, and she said perhaps there's an interest to do a bike tour of some of them. So I think that would be pretty cool to see if maybe we could get something like that off the ground. I'll send the listing, and then maybe we can go from there if anybody's interested in pursuing that. Santina also can't be here today, but no updates from the health department. Engineering's not here, but I have a few updates on that we're gonna hit in other parts of the agenda. So just to keep things moving forward. For the chair report, the Blooming Metric is a 4-route bike tour event that Sound Cyclist puts on. It's this Saturday. May 18th at Sherwood Island, if anybody's interested in that. And then we are gonna promote that some more on our social media.
I'll be there.
Another date to keep in mind is June 24th. It's a Tuesday at 10 a.m. Desegregate CT is moving ahead with doing a walk audit, targeting Black Rock Metro train station, whatever we're calling it now, looking at like the transit-oriented development in that area. So it would be great to have committee members participate in the audit. I plan to go for at least a portion of it. Would like to see other faces there.
I'm sorry, when was that?
It's the 24th. It's a Tuesday at 10:30 a.m.
Do you know how long it is?
I think they're budgeting 2 hours.
Is it June 24th?
June 24th. Did I say 9?
I wasn't
It's
sure.
June.
Well, it wouldn't be a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's June. It's June.
At 10 o'clock?
At 10 o'clock. 10:30.
10:30.
10:30 a.m. The Safe Streets for All grant update, it was kind of held up a little bit in the change of federal administrations. We were asked to take out some language on equity considerations. That's been done and sent back through to the federal government. We're hopeful that things are now moving and that the grant agreement will be signed shortly. Once the grant agreement is signed, then the town will be able to award the consultant that they've vetted to do the actual safety action plan. So that's great that that's finally moving forward. I just came from the local traffic authority meeting, a huge update for Mill Plain Road Sturgis and South Benson, the traffic authority approved demonstration projects for those areas. So I think the goal is to have some of those demonstration projects. It's focused. You can look at the project, like kind of like the loose project plan on the agenda back up from the meeting. But it's identified a bunch of intersections along Sturgis and on Mill Plain where they're planning to do some combination of like raised intersections, curb bump outs. And so the approval was to move forward with bollards and things from a 1 to 6 month period. So that'll give plenty of time for the community to kind of see what's going on and give feedback as they kind of move forward to traffic calming solutions on those roads. Anybody have any questions on that? 'Cause it's kind
So it's like temporary?
well, yeah, so it's temporary now with the goal of they'll be able to make changes if they're seeing something's working or not working, and then so that they can hopefully come to like the best solution for Mill Plain. So they have some proposals from Beta is the consultant that did the right-of-way survey and their initial conceptuals, but engineering, our town engineers are gonna look at it closely and kind of decide.
What was the name of the firm? Beta?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of it.
Okay, I think that's, Anya, you're gonna talk about Safe Streets Alliance later? Or you want me to-
Whenever you. Yeah, I can talk about it
We
whenever.
can talk about it later, I guess. Okay. I think that's it for,
I think it's committee member reports.
yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Let me just, sorry. Let me check one. There were 2 public information meetings that we went to. Anya and I and Sandy were at Strathfield Road, and then there was another one for jug handles. The jug handle is on Route 130 and Kings Highway. There weren't a lot of people in attendance for that, so Mega has opened the comment period for longer, so you can go online and look at the plans if you want to give comment on those particular ones. So the jug handle is at the end of the circle, the big traffic circle by Circle Diner. Is kind of that like little strip on the other side. So it's if you want to look at those plans and give comment, you can still do that until the 22nd. Okay, and then I wanted to say thank you to Mike for manning the table at Healthy Kids Day. It was a huge success.
The best one we've ever done, over 130 some odd helmets distributed. Hats off to the folks at New Haven, Yale New Haven, the 2 ladies, I didn't catch their name, I apologize, did most of the work. So I really appreciate all the contributions that everyone brought to the table there.
Yeah, it was great. I was there with my kids. We had a good time and had some good conversations with other residents too that are looking to have traffic calming in their neighborhoods as well. Okay, so with that, I think Emmeline, I'll turn it over to you and
Would this be an occasion just to make note for next year that, I mean, unfortunately, I was only able to go for about an hour, so I contributed little, other than physically standing there. But it seemed like there might be an opportunity to have like an additional like small table to just kind of receive feedback from people.
yeah, so I did do that for like the couple hours that I was there.
Oh, okay, I'm
I
sorry.
was talking to people as they were kind of coming in to get their helmets fitted. So yeah, I definitely think like it would be,
Maybe more formalize it?
I think it would be great to have, more committee members there and also like maybe have some shifts or something though, so that like we can, so I agree. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Great idea.
Great, cool. Emmeline, can I turn it over to you?
Okay, sure. So in the course of working on pre-development code review with one of our applicants, they have an opportunity through their project design to make some changes in the public right-of-way. And so I just, in consultation with engineering, we thought it was best to bring it before the Bike Ped Committee to talk through what those proposals are. We were at the local traffic authority before this, who were pleased with what's being proposed, but we thought we should bring it to you guys as well. So I'll turn it over to Seelan and Ari. Seelan is the project architect, and Ari is here on behalf of the development team.
Hi, thank you. So I'll introduce myself, please. Sealan Butler, Principal at Byfield Architecture.
Ari, could we these Scout partners?
Can we share? Because we have
Yeah.
Brian in our office, he's in the office, and he can, it's a better way of looking at the drawings. All right, so I'll stand here because I know I'm under speaker. But on the right-hand side, you have Commerce Drive and you have Kings Highway on the left. You have those two buildings on the corner, going to go away. And that's the site for our building. So it's that wedge shape that you're looking at.
So this
The
is
restaurant?
presently where Rio Bravo is located.
What's the other one to the right? I can't remember.
It's called the Manger Building. It's like a flex industrial building.
And to the right of that is the daycare, and then to the right of that is the
Orthopedic, OSG.
On that side of the street, yeah.
Bright Horizons daycare, right?
And Ari's team built Trademark and Alto, so they have experience in this area. So we're going to talk about the parking spaces specifically, but I want to show you just what the building's going to look like. This is not rendered, but I think it's. Do you have the 3D, Bri? Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Oh, well.
So, residential building, what I think
This
is.
will replace Rio.
Pardon?
This will replace Rio.
Replace the two buildings that exist.
So what we were sensitive to here, there are a few things happening. Most important is on the corner, intentionally created a plaza. We're speaking to Emmeline's team about using that as a place of public art. So it's truly a public space, be deemed as such, and contribute to the zoning regulations that we're trying to achieve. That's just a placeholder. We're suggesting that maybe there's a covered, not a covered structure, but a shade structure that's part that
What do you
actually.
mean by public art, like sculptures or?
We actually get an artist to come in and
Uh-huh.
do some public art in that
Create that,
space.
okay.
So it's a space for permanent installation of art.
Got
how
it.
many total
Helpful.
units?
90.
Okay.
We were particularly sensitive to how the building met the street. So you have two general concepts here. On the right-hand side, we have these direct entry apartment units. Even though they're apartments, are direct entry, so they'll feel like townhouses coming to the street. So hopefully that activates that portion of the street. Then you have the public art in the middle, and the entrance to the main entrance to the amenities and the leasing offices and so on. And on the left-hand side, intentionally floated this building above this glass box to give that glass box a presence in the street because that's potentially a restaurant.
Oh, okay, that's-
So, or restaurant or retail concept in there. So with that, we go, and please, Brian. So when we're doing that, what we realize is that the zoning has minimum 10 foot, maximum 18-foot setback from the property line. So that retail space in sort of the pink color is set back at the minimum, which is 10 foot. But that property line to the existing curb cut is another whole 15 feet. So if we just pave that or kept that, we'd have 25 feet between the curb line and the building. We thought that didn't create a great public space. How could we make it better? So this does not count towards our parking count. We just suggested that maybe a good idea is to have these parallel spaces, and that's what we're suggesting today. So those are.
And if I could just interject, when we met with the development team, when they presented this concept to us, before the train station was built, we developed a whole host of Commerce Drive district regulations that really work towards kind of promoting a TOD district. That has been refined over time as we've kind of understood more about, the real development requirements in terms of residential ratios. We don't need 1 million square feet of office in this district. So those regulations have evolved over time, I think in partnership with the developers who have kind of come to the table in this area, which, used to be factories and brownfields that employed 6,000 people. So this has really been an exciting,
Sorry.
so this has really been in a really exciting area for us to really look at kind of transformative change. Within some of that early planning language, there is kind of the suggestion of more robust urban spaces, including public art, public furniture, public plazas. And when they came to the table, one of the things that was kind of symbiotic that was happening at the same time was Mark Barnhart was re-engaging the Arts Commission, and so that was being reestablished. And so we thought, that it would be a good thing to try to marry kind of the new Arts Commission that's coming online with some of the planning suggestions within the Commerce Drive District and be able to do something that provided more opportunity as a neighborhood shared space. So, go ahead. Sorry,
Yeah,
Stephen.
that's great. Thank you for that context. So yeah, you see the 6 spaces on the left. Clear, that's cutting into the space that's there today. So we're not extending towards the street. We're literally just pushing in towards our property line. And we have plenty of space. You can see you got a 9-foot, it doesn't say, but it's 9 foot deep for the parking spaces. You got another 5 foot outside there before you get to the property line. Just over 5 foot. And then we've got our space outside that hopefully our building spills out onto. It's another 10 foot. So there's 15 foot still between the edge of those parallel spaces and the building.
And Brian, can you zoom out a little bit so you can see up to the crosswalk on Kings Highway? So maybe it's on the aerial, I think, but for this particular stretch, this is not a high-speed stretch of Kings Highway. It's kind of bookended by a crosswalk across Kings Highway here and then a crosswalk right at the end of the Staples Plaza. So it's kind of a short distance that's got some traffic calming features already with the very visible marked crosswalks on either side here. And I guess it's maybe outside of the picture, but there's a very visible crosswalk that's up here, the visible crosswalk here, and the visible crosswalk here. I hope I'm talking loud enough, and in consultation with engineering, what they had indicated was along Commerce Drive, there is the fog lane that's indicated here that's supposed to be for, bike lane protection, and that wasn't something that was intended to be a feature for this stretch of Kings Highway, which is why we thought in order to bring that building kind of artificially closer to the curb by doing the inset parking spaces, you'd have a more intimate pedestrian environment in that location.
Where is Staples Plaza?
It's right next to
To the
it,
north.
to the north.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this particular stretch of Kings Highway, you're then biking pretty much into that crazy traffic circle. So as far as like a place to put a bike lane, this wouldn't be like top.
And where's the train station from here too?
To the south.
South too.
Yeah, there it is. Directly south.
Okay, yeah.
And just that the urban planning concept of having a massive metal, in this case cars, between you and pedestrians, between the street and pedestrians. That's what this
It would
offers.
be protected.
Yeah, I mean, it's a general just concept, right? Parallel spaces on between the street and the sidewalk is always encouraged.
Can we talk a little bit about the Commerce Drive existing conditions, the fact that we do not have any sidewalks on that side? And we'll be adding those.
Ryan, you want to go back to the plans, please?
Wow.
It's a long stretch.
We're on the right side. So there is no sidewalk now along this stretch of property. And I'm speaking out of turn, but we were talking about extending it as far as we can go with that sidewalk. But
Yeah,
we're limited in our.
We're limited in that the daycare property next door, I believe the design would interfere with
Their play area.
their parking, because their parking, you can see if you zoom in on their parking lot, it goes like right to the edge there.
There's a pole that you can't see.
So the OSG property does have sidewalks, but it stops at the daycare property, and then it would be picked up and extended on along our new development. So that would obviously have to be something the town would take up with the owner of the daycare. We do not own the daycare.
Potentially we have the sidewalk next to the daycare and then maybe a crosswalk to get to the other side where it's
Yep.
a sidewalk.
Switching back.
Can you give the daycare take away those 3 parking spaces and give them 3 parking spaces?
We would not be able to do that, no.
Why not? You,
Go ahead.
But in terms of parking numbers, we're right on the money right now.
could you do it?
Could you do it from which perspective, like? is
Well,
there
I'm not allowed
some-
to have ex parte communications.
You are not.
You don't know who I am.
Yes.
He knows who I am. She knows who I am.
But maybe you could, just eliminate one parking space here to be able to shift those back.
We can eliminate
the
the 4 parking spaces, potentially.
No, I was
We
saying.
can look at it when we get there. Why don't
Yeah.
we say that?
That's,
That's not our property. We do have a relationship with the neighboring owner, but, that would be,
Right.
again, beyond the purview of our development, and we just trying to.
Yeah, but I think the intent to extend the sidewalk is
That's a
great.
great one.
It's
Yeah.
great.
yeah, Ari and I were just literally talking about the spaces that he's created at Trademark and Alto and Esh is doing so well. Like just be able, this is another place to walk to.
Yeah.
One other sidewalk related question. Are you getting any pushback from, I saw you have the street trees, which is great. Are you getting any pushback on that? Because of sight lines,
We have not met with the tree warden yet.
No, the tree wardens can be fine.
Yeah,
It's just it's the
traffic.
highway.
No, they're set
Sidelines,
back, so if you look at the way that they've designed
Yeah.
the corner, they'll, I guess, depending on the type of tree, I don't know about that south side, but in code review, they didn't say anything.
That's good.
But for the north side, they do try to keep the tree planting 15 feet off the corner. But they didn't say anything about that
I
particular
was even just
corner.
really concerned about the ones in front because over at the train station or other project, we had asked for street trees. Is that your project too?
81 Black Rock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so at 81 Black Rock, we'd asked for street trees, and your
We
traffic
said no?
engineer said, no, because of sight lines.
Oh, I think they're on a different, you guys are in a different, that was like a different,
I think that might have been,
The
that corner belongs to the, if you mean that corner belongs to the brewery. You mean at the corner, on our street?
Right in front of your parcel.
Yeah.
But the street trees, I'm glad you're doing it, but on 81, they said.
They weren't an issue when we did the projects across the street.
Yeah.
It's never been an issue for us, so
Stick with it.
I'm expecting it won't be an issue here,
Yeah.
but again, until we get feedback from the tree warden, once.
Tree wardens can be fine with it.
Yeah.
well, and UI, of course, right?
UI is gonna.
Yeah.
We have the exact, we were talking about that before the meeting also, there's the exact same condition on our 2 other projects. There's power lines above those trees, he planted smaller trees, but they look like that, they look exactly like that, they're there today.
Yeah, but you're allowed to put just understory trees under the power lines, right?
I'm not sure, but yeah, we just said they need to be smaller.
Dogwoods and cherries.
Yeah. Right.
What
Yeah,
kind
so-
of,
Brian is just showing you the existing condition.
Yeah, we gotta turn around.
Is your building set back the same distance as this one? The proposed building, is it set back the same distance?
Yeah, the same regulations dictate both these buildings.
But I'm just saying the proposed setback, if he goes back.
Yeah, it's about the same.
This one's 10 feet, I believe, when we bumped out the basement of this building and then added all that landscaping, so we would have a similar concept, but the Rio Bravo site is actually deeper. And so that's why we're proposing to cut in the parking spaces.
But even this, if he could have benefited from parallel spaces, right? But this puts a whole lot of poles in the way that we're also dealing with. But you would have had a more intimate sidewalk, which someone just mentioned.
But essentially, what you're proposing, the parking spaces would be inset into that
Correct.
interior sidewalk.
Yes.
But it's on the other street, though.
So Brian, you want to go back to the plan?
what kind of feedback are you?
I'm sorry, could you do a street view of the
yeah.
center?
Current. Yeah, Brian, can you do a street view from the corner,
Rio Bravo.
please?
I
At Rio Bravo?
just want to be able to visualize it a little bit better.
So this is the corner.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Serious power poles.
Yeah, so we did actually, we did initiate conversation with UI, and the power poles along Commerce Drive feed the train station. And so those are not
Can't
movable
move,
at
yeah.
all. But the power lines that are on Kings Drive, we have a bit of more flexibility with
Yep.
those.
Kings Drive, the one on the right?
Sorry,
On the
Kings
left.
Highway,
Highway.
sorry, Kings Highway.
I just wanted to know kind of what kind of feedback are you looking for from this committee? Is there any questions that you
I
have
think,
for us?
I think it's whether the parking spaces are,
I actually had
Good
a
to go.
question on, like, because it seems like you're actually increasing the hard surface of what there is today. So
I
I'm
don't,
just,
I don't think that's true.
Yeah, I think we
No?
said-
The whole site is basically pavement today.
yeah,
but we're
no,
gonna present those numbers, and I think it's an introduction.
okay.
The whole site's pavement.
Yeah, where I'm going is like, I'm just
Okay.
wondering about why would you need the 6 parking spaces on the street?
We don't need them. We
Don't
think
need
it
them.
slows traffic and it's more supportive for retail. I mean, most people like to park in a downtown location to have parking. It also slows down traffic for pedestrians and, and people driving along the street.
The whole design idea here was to curate the edges so they become more alive. So the one edge has the direct entry stoops, we think that'll help. One edge has, so the middle has the plaza, which is gonna be great hopefully. And the other edge is this retail / restaurant space. And we think that the parking helps enliven that.
Are those townhouse entries where the steps are?
They're apartments with a corridor at the back, but they also have
Yeah.
direct entries, which we find are very popular.
Yeah,
People like
so
to
it
walk out.
activates the street.
Yeah.
Correct.
If people are going to a restaurant, they'll walk out their front door as opposed to go to the corridor and back to the elevators, stuff like that.
But it gives the whole area more walkable feel.
That was the idea.
I mean, I don't know if this is an okay position, but I personally feel like there's just a lot of parking in that area in general, and I understand you're saying there's like a net reduction, and that, I hear you. I guess my comment is if the sidewalk could continue in front of the daycare and somehow they get parking in what you already have and you need those parking spaces on Kings Highway to accommodate that, I think that kind of makes sense. Otherwise, I think I would, my personal view would be to just have more green space in that particular area, but,
I can speak to our current zoning regulations that are not quite there yet.
I was waiting for that.
If Jeff has anything to do with it, they will be there with our zoning regulation revisions. I think that Ari can speak to this as being the developer for trademark 1, which has 101 units. It's got the Sally's on the ground floor and all of the commercial tenant spaces are now fully occupied. They have excess parking. They don't use all the parking that we required for them to build at that location.
Correct.
Same thing with, I mean, I think you guys
Well, Alto's a
overbuilt.
little different, yeah.
Yeah, you guys overbuilt for Alto, but, so we know that we have built environment examples that show that our parking regulations over-require spaces. Again, and I'll just speak to this, you still have people in neighborhoods where even if we wanted to do developments where we park it 1 unit for 1 space, they don't believe that that's enough parking. So we'll have to see how this plays in the greater community when we have this discussion,
But your
because.
question was the opposite, though. You thought we had too much, is that what you're
Well,
saying?
no, that's what I'm saying, is that we have built examples where we know that's the case. But I
I'm just
think when
saying,
you
I
talk
know,
to
like-
folks in the community, they don't believe that that we can reduce the parking ratios yet. So it's going to be a community conversation, I feel like.
So I apologize, I think I'm being dense here, but are you suggesting that the regulations dictate this number of spots? Because
Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
At the back, at the back.
But not the ones in the front.
Not the ones
That's purely,
extra.
that's to create a protected bike lane.
Oh, right, absolutely.
No.
Protected-
Just
protected
protected
sidewalk. Protected
Protected
sidewalk.
sidewalk, okay.
So,
Then why can't that be a trade then for the daycare?
That's not their project.
Yeah, that's
It's not our property.
It's a possibility. Yeah.
Okay, but it is something that,
So our zoning regulations do allow for shared parking scenarios. I don't think we're quite there yet until this project is constructed right now to meet the current regulations as they stand. In the future, there might be the possibility to play with shared parking arrangements, but that doesn't exist legally within our current zoning regulatory structure.
so basically this satisfies current regulations and TP&Z needs to come up with new parking regulations.
We need to get some CD done.
Thanks for that,
So-
Jeff, appreciate it.
Have you ever heard me say that before?
So to your point about being too much parking space, to be clear, a good idea that came out of the traffic meeting was that those are limited to 2 hours. So we honestly see that not as a requirement to support the retail. The retail, I think, will function without it. It's literally to create a place. So you're going to grab something from the store or whatever it is, you can park in there. You just grab it, and that's urban living, right? So
So it's metered parking.
not metered,
don't
just
have meters.
2 hour
We
limits.
just have a limit.
So people don't
Can't overnight park there.
Right, go to the train station and stuff like that. That was it.
What's your parking ratio on this one right now?
1.25 for the residential and
Yeah.
then
and
a
then
75%
it's 4
credit.
per, I think, for the retail or
250.
commercial.
250?
4 per thousand, yeah, exactly, 250 per thousand, yeah. Yep. Or 1 per 250, yeah. So, I don't know, that comes out to about 119 spaces or something like that, 120, so, I don't know, roughly. Don't quote me
So
exactly.
Brian, are we right 1 to 250 or 1 to 300? Brian knows more about this than anyone.
Well, I know
Maybe
the
it's on YouTube.
neighbors from Staples are gonna come over with, pitchforks and torches, right? No, just kidding.
So I guess. I
They're
guess
so
there-
overparked, they're so
Yeah, so I
overparked.
guess the only thing that we would look for is that you don't have necessarily negative comments, that there's not, as you stated, I think that there's not a higher demand or need for a different type of infrastructure along Kings Highway where this is proposed.
I would say that I'm okay with that, yeah.
A Sharrow bike lane would work there. Yeah, I've ridden my bike
Right.
down there. It's not a busy street.
Yeah, but you're going toward the circle.
Either way.
But if you go the other way,
Yeah, no,
Oh, yeah,
I've just
okay.
tested it
Oh,
out.
okay.
But it's not a busy, Kings High, and you guys should ride your bike there. It's not a busy street.
I mean,
So
I
I think
ride
it's Cheryl bike
there
lane.
all the time, but I typically just take Commerce, then go down. I don't do that little
Yeah.
Kings Highway towards the crazy
It's
circle.
not busy.
Does anybody else have any other?
Do you expect outside seating on that sidewalk or? Or it's,
Potentially,
how wide is it again?
10 feet, 10 feet from the property line to that building.
There's gonna be a whole series, I think, of, what I'll call amenities along the building. Not dissimilar to what we have across the street, where we have some public space benches, probably some, there'll be features. And obviously, within this art component that we're contemplating, we're expecting that space to be interactive, meaning that you could sit within the exhibit. So that, maybe you're having a coffee, maybe I don't know what you're doing, reading a book, but, there's gonna be access there so that you can kind of be part of the exhibit. And that, you would want to take a walk along either side of this building, whichever way you're going. And that it would be, obviously ADA compliant and just a pleasant place to, landscaped, et cetera. So we're trying to kind of bring the corner together from it. I call it the triangle. This is like the third piece of the three buildings in this intersection.
Is there space for like, if that was a restaurant, is there space for them to sit outside on that sidewalk, or is it?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
10 foot beyond the 5 foot
Sidewalk.
It's 5 feet for like small little tables potentially.
No, it's 5 foot
10
sidewalk and then 10 foot. You have 10 foot.
5 foot sidewalk and then 10 more feet.
Yeah.
Here's the 5 foot.
I see. Nice.
And no single design project is going to solve for making a place. We see this as a cog in the whole thing, right?
Just for reference, how big is Rio Bravo, the interior
Rio Bravo building's about 3,000 square feet. Don't quote me exactly, it's about
So
3,000.
this is bigger than,
It's a little bit bigger,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit bigger than the existing restaurant.
Rio Bravo feels big.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that includes the back of the house
Yeah,
too.
yeah, but I mean, the front of house feels big.
Yeah.
The other thing that, just to bring to your attention, is that within the zoning regulations, we do have on-site bike storage requirements for residential units.
Oh, really?
Up to 75 spaces. And so in all of their developments, they provide a bike storage room.
Correct.
Oh, that's cool.
And then also in code, we talked about the provision of bike racks
Public back racks, yeah.
on in the public right of way near the parking
Correct.
spaces.
Which we have
Yeah.
provided across the street in our other developments. If you guys have been on our properties across the street, we do have public bicycle rings or whatever you call them for storage if people are coming and going on bikes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
So what's your timeframe on this?
They want to come in this summer for the board, so we'll have to squeeze them in.
So we're working for to submit our application the end of June, beginning of July, so hopefully we'll go from there.
So break ground this year?
Probably not, probably early next year. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's real.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jeff,
Thanks,
Lynn,
Emily.
Jeff and Joe.
That building's all more rentals.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's their model.
Awesome, thanks, Emmeline.
You don't want to see our Greenway plan? You gotta go home.
Greenway plan.
I'll show you later.
Okay, you show me later. Hi.
Um,
And my water.
Want to kick this off? I need to share this. screen.
Sure, I guess so.
Excuse me? Oh, yeah.
What?
You're our MC, go ahead.
Oh, man, not a role I was intending for tonight.
You're.
Anyway, there's a lot of interesting serendipity that has happened recently. I had reached out to Jeff because, as many of you here know, that we were looking for a deep grant that we were originally intending to use to bolster the East Coast Greenway here in town. But after talking with Bruce Donald, who works at Deep and helps distribute that grant money, we learned that it could be used for a wide variety of different things, not just the East Coast Greenway, but some sort of multi-use trail. And a small subgroup here, including the three of us, have met a few times to look at possible routes to go over the grant application and the requirements. And since I had met Jeff before, I had reached out to him to, get some feedback on different routes because I know that he's played around with a number of those in the past. And little did I know, he's been working on something as well. And so we had a meeting of the minds, and which included who I will call Ben, even though that's maybe not his name. I knew it had three letters. And so we met last week and discussed sort of like the different ideas we had for routing. And so I will turn it over to you, Jeff, in terms of, how you want to
Sure, I
go
think,
about what you're doing.
I know everybody except for you.
Francisco Mira.
Francisco, yeah, so, I don't know, what's my role, chief? Troublemaker?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm on planning and zoning, and I've worked with Anya and Sarah on a lot of different things. And I've been just a member of the community for a long time, and I guess this idea came up for me about, 20 years ago at least. I was the scoutmaster for one of the Boy Scout troops, and do a lot of hiking, and I'm like, well, we should have a walking trail all the way through town. So fast forward, I'm on planning and zoning. We were doing our master plan for the town, a plan of conservation development. And who shows up but Joe? And I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah.
In a minute. And Joe shows up and he's like, hey, we should have running trails in town, right? And I'm like, yeah, right. So we actually have that in the plan of in the draft plan of conservation development to include, thank you, to have, Emmeline is very focused on preserving the riverine ways and moving development out of them because it causes a lot of flooding problems. And there's federal grants for that. And so we have that in our plan of conservation development. And so kind of paused a little bit, and then, I don't know, Joe and I reconnected, and I've been following Joe's various activities a little, introduce himself in a sec. And so we kind of got started on this, and then these guys contacted us, and we're like, hey, we're working on this. So, Joe, why don't you give them your, and don't forget your other hobbies.
Yeah, so as a brief overview, I'm Joe, and I am 24. I moved to Fairfield when I was 4 years old, and I've lived here ever since. So I have had a lot of time running throughout the town. I started in middle school at Fairfield Woods Middle School across country. And then from there, just kind of kept expanding. Used a lot of the very open spaces that we're talking about as like some of the first places I ever learned how to run or everything. And then, long story short, I continued running through college. For me, that was during COVID. And then since everybody got sent home during 2020 and we were required to run without any other motivation for the team, I decided to run every street of the town. So then that gave me a really... Yeah, I was just kind of bored and did it at the time. That was like my COVID hobby. But then that's how I kind of got looped into this, is that I was like, wait, I actually have a pretty valuable perspective on this now because I've seen every single street and like all the trails and everything. And then I was like, oh, well, now I know about this little thing and here's how this could connect to this, etc. So essentially, I also, because of my age and everything, I personally knew Bill Gerber because I went to school with his son, Teddy. And so after he became selectman, then I sort of felt more comfortable reaching out to the town government about this because I knew somebody on the inside. And then also the events of SantaCon back in 2023 and that public forum, it upset me so much as someone who was a college age as well and from the town and would never throw 12,000 pounds of trash in the beach, that I then spoke up there. I then started linking up with a bunch of the conservation people, and so that's how I heard about the Plan of Conservation Development meeting, did all this extra stuff. Long story short, I was busy sort of squaring away the rest of my life and career, and then we sort of reconnected soon because I was like, oh, hey, let's sort of get this moving, bushwhacking, et cetera, before everything leaves.
Tell what you're doing next year, just throw that in.
Oh, well, yeah, so I applied and got into medical school at the University of Illinois, so I'm going to be moving soon to Chicago, but I also wanted to give something back before I left, so we've been working on a big map.
Your other hobby.
Oh, well, so after the running every street in Fairfield, I was slowly taking out chunks around the state border to run the entire border of the state. It's like around 75% of the way done.
Wow.
Yeah, it gave me both a lot of perspective for like what we have and also what other towns have done. And also it's like honestly so cool because we're in Fairfield County, which obviously is the most densely populated county. But at the same time, you go into the salt marshes and it feels like Barn Island in Stonington. You go up to Hoyden's Hill and you could be in Litchfield County. Yet those two places are like 8 miles apart. And I think as we talk about in this plan, you could have a trail that's 8 miles, around 90% on town property, linking the entire thing together. And the best parts is some of the biggest sections of road as well, over like Mill Plain and through the Post Road, actually pass by some historic homes. So there's a chance to highlight that local history as well. Greenways increase property values as well. So it's even just in some cases an economic interest for the town if you want to be incredibly cynical about it. But
So tell them about what we did right before Alex called.
Oh,
It was the Saturday before Alex.
Yeah, we basically already got started a little bit because there are a few sections that I had sort of seen where it was like, oh, this trail's fallen out of repair a bit. We discovered a right of way up by Hoyden's Hill. And basically, we've already tried to slowly start clearing things out and marking where a trail could go.
So we've been doing some tactical urbanism right before Alex called.
Yeah.
We did tactical urbanism on a town right of way. So we were kind of going back and forth. I'm like, hey, there's a town right of way, and Joe, of course, knew the area, and so we're like, hey, and then we mapped it out using a hiking map, And we're like, oh, let's just start, you know, doing a little tactical urbanism. And so we bushwhacked a trail. It's up by Hoyden's Hill. It's at the eastern border. And basically, long and short of it, we'll show you the map generally, but
Yeah.
we can go pretty much from the beach. There's a little bit of a gap downtown, up through almost Reading.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, well, actually, no, we can go to, we can go,
Yeah,
we can
could
go
almost
to,
be Huntington State Park, like
oh,
Bethel
yeah,
or
yeah,
something,
we can go to,
right?
we can go to Huntington State Park on a trail.
Yeah.
So we'll show you what we got here. So, you know, so I don't know if I can switch, I can't switch sides. Can you guys switch sides?
I don't
You're not craning your neck, but,
Oh, this is fine for me.
okay.
It'd be heads if it was on the other screen.
If it's too tricky, don't worry about it.
It's fine, I could,
So, you know, why a trail master plan? I think you guys, we're preaching to convert it here. But we basically put this together after meeting with these guys, to kind of summarize everything. So accessible walking, biking infrastructure, trail, there are a lot of existing trails, but they're fragmented. And it aligns with the POCD. And I guess more importantly, once you've got a plan in place, oh, we get them both sides here. Once you've got a plan in place, it sets you up for funding. Because long and short of it, you've got a plan and then people take you seriously. So,
You had a different map that showed it more clearly. It's actually looked more like this one. Do you?
yeah, I'll go through and show you the
Okay.
detailed map at the end. So, the vision and goals are really to protect the corridors and open spaces, link neighborhoods, basically create a townwide system. Right now, we've got all these little fragment, and it's really the generations before us. They did a really good job preserving open spaces, but they're not connected. So the proposed network would include, and this is hot off the press. Joe just,
Yeah, we just made this in
yeah, Joe,
QGIS a little
yeah,
while
I was
ago.
doing this in the middle of the LTA meeting.
Just trace and again, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Show it for everyone else because you got a bunch of different colors there.
Yeah.
Mix it and show
What
where
are
it
the
starts in
colors?
the
Yeah,
north and ends up at the
I
south.
was gonna say, there's
I could.
Yeah, there's a lot going
yeah,
on.
Hang on, let me get to the
Or
last
am I
one.
preempting you?
You are a little bit,
Okay.
but here, let me get to the.
Where's the key? What is
yeah,
that?
what do the colors mean?
That, long story short, the colors for the properties are by owner, or the parcels are for ownership. So mustard is the town of Fairfield.
Oh,
That's
okay.
how much of the town owns. Then
That's remarkable.
in blue is Aquarian. Purple, which a lot of people don't know, some of it down here is just like stuff for the highways, but these two parts up here are actually part of a state forest called the Centennial Watershed State Forest.
Which I'd never known. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
We didn't even know, because we were, that white section, show them where we bushwhacked.
It's this first one.
Yeah, so we're, on one side, the sign said, do not trespass Centennial State Forest, and the
Yeah.
other side is the do not trespass Aquarium.
Yeah. And then the teal colors, the Connecticut Audubon Society. So you see like the Birdcraft Sanctuary there, the Larson Sanctuary. They also own one on Old Academy and over by Merwin's. This orange color is the Aspetuck Land Trust. This is the Lake Hills Association. These are just a collection of like private parks or other things like that. Like for example, the Fairfield Black Rock Conservation Easement. This is the Maplewood by Southport, which has like the senior citizen home on the side, but all that front part is like fields, preserved meadow. And then, yeah, and then the darker gray, those are privately owned parcels, which either in theory could be, in some cases, partially when appropriate, or sometimes fully acquired, like potential big opportunities for
So
conservation.
just trace,
They're undeveloped.
Yes, exactly.
Which color is the undeveloped?
The dark gray.
Okay.
trace the map, just, I think everybody can see it, but
Yeah,
just,
so then long story short, the greenway we would be looking at would start at the intersection, and I'll trace what would happen now first, and then the, like, proposed in the future, but currently, off of existing, like, walking trails, et cetera, it would
I
start
think I
at
got a
the-
detail of that one. Where is that one?
Well,
Didn't we
the
have a detail?
detail isn't in full, I mean,
Okay.
that's like an example.
Just, yeah, show the bird's eye,
Yeah.
25,000 feet.
So first, it would start at Beers Road and Wilson Road. That intersection is also one of the points on the northern border of Fairfield. Currently, for now, follow Beers Road, then cut through existing trails in Hoyden's Hill open space, then go out on Hoyden's Lane, cut through a small portion of the Centennial Watershed State Forest that already has trails that, to my knowledge, nobody had marked until I had ran them. So another thing I was doing is I was going on runs and GPS logging them with my watch and then like adding the trails onto the map. So that's a section there. It would then come down Hoyden's Hill Road, pop into Grace Richardson, exit onto Congress.
There's a little break there.
Yeah. In theory, there'd be a private parcel up here that could be acquired and kind of snake around and avoid the vast majority of it. For now, it'd have to go on Congress, which is less than ideal because it's a very trafficked and hilly road. But then it would cross the Merritt at Morehouse Drive, which is good because it's usually very quiet up there. It would enter Lake Mohican, continue down the west side of the lake. Then currently, it could possibly go through some minor, like, again, informal trail on the lake
Roadwalk.
sort of space, but otherwise you could have it go down. I believe this is Canterbury right here. But then after that, whether you follow Canterbury or exit on Lake Hills Beach number 4, it would then follow Wampus Way, etc., through Nonopogue Drive, come down Black Rock Turnpike, and in the future, of course, you'd want to minimize that given how busy that road is. It would then go back through Rolling Ridge, etc. In the future, it would be really nice to cut into St. Mortar open space as quickly as possible, but for the shortest, most reasonable alignment for now, I think you'd have to wait to go onto Hollydale and to Mountain Laurel open space, and then Mountain Laurel Road. Although in the future, there is another open space here called Trillium Road that could have path created. Going down further, it would then, again, potentially for now, just follow Brookside and kind of go right adjacent to Springer Glen. But in the future, there could be a bridge built across, especially because, as Jeff pointed out, it was called the Old Fording Place anyway. Then, oh yes, we're here. Then again, currently, this is actually a spot that's owned by Aquarian, but in the future, hopefully a trail could be made that would again cut out more roads. But these are just some little roads like Cynthia Drive, etc. Mill Spa off the back of Mill Plain. Again, currently with a lack of open space here, it would have to temporarily jet out onto Mill Plain. However, those would be properties, or at least like a right of way in the back would be highly desirable. It could then cut back through on Flower House Drive, etc. Go through Riverfield, and there's a 14-acre parcel right here, which is owned by the Bronze.
By the Bronze, and Kathy, do you guys know Kathy Braun? Kathy Braun's on TPZ, and her dad just passed away, but he was one of the strong supporters of Audubon. So I think there's a good chance we could get a right-of-way easement through there.
Yeah.
But that's the big gap. That's one of the bigger gaps right now.
Yeah, so unfortunately for now, it would have to come out onto Mill Plain and then sort of snake its way back through.
So the green line assumes we don't have the right-of-way on the Bronze?
Yeah, this first one for now.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying, this could be marked like almost immediately, just so you can get the public engaged, etc. Then one of the things that would have to be done in pretty much any scenario, and something which we actually didn't put in here because it wasn't one of our maps, but there's a website called Strava, which tracks everyone's sort of runs, and basically there's enough demand for a bridge across Perry's Mill Ponds that even right now on the global heat map, you actually see a relatively bright line of people crossing the river, even though there's no bridge. So people will literally just wade through it or swim or whatever just to get to the other side and keep going through the open space. But yeah, I would then follow the main line of Perry's Mill Ponds.
They're serious.
Through Mill Hollow Park, cut across Umpqua and then Mill Plain. And again, there's a lot of historic homes through here. This is the section that would almost certainly have to remain on roads for a very long time, although I did include a little bit of hypothetically if you wanted to have a section go down the Mill River. After you cross onto the Post Road, in theory, depending on the exact fate of 185 Thorpe Street, a public access way straight from Thorpe Street would be highly desirable because that could lead directly into the marsh.
That's where the lumber yard used to be there.
Yeah. So ideally, it would be conserved as much as possible, but at the very least, at the very least, a public right of way through here. But for now, it could cut across and get down to Rugby Park, And this section of the marsh does not have any trail at all, but in theory, a boardwalk or something could be put in place there. But for now, it could continue on South Pine Creek and then Old Field into the currently existing sections. All this part exists already. And then I just had it for symbolic reasons, continuing on to Pine Creek Ave and then exiting right at South Pine Creek Beach, so that it officially spans the entire length of the town.
So this is great work, by the way, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you, so much for putting this together, both you and Jeff. And, just for everyone's benefit here, I hadn't seen it in this detail, Mike and I, when we met.
It's about 30 minutes old.
Yeah.
Right. So, so this is, but the concept was the same when they presented it. And, just for clarity, a lot of this would be a walking trail. And we discussed the idea of finding ways in which we could mix and integrate and weave like a multi-use trail to
We
work
have
in
the UI
different.
power lines right here as
Yeah.
another option.
Yeah, and so one of the things so it's interesting because when I contacted Jeff, we had met and I had put together a proposal for a different north-south route that utilized some of the UI power lines that have gone in and trying to get an easement through the power company to build a trail. And I think the great thing here is this does a wonderful job of connecting open spaces. What I've heard from the both of them is this is something that we can start to kind of mark immediately. And I think it's a nice thing to have as this is the pedestrian north-south trail. And as I mentioned, we can look to find funding for multi-use trails that kind of integrate where, sort of weave and follow and kind of serendipitously connect with the walking trail. So this is new, within our working group, Mike and I obviously met with the two of them. Francisco has been involved as well. So this is new to Francisco, but I think our intention was to meet again in the next week and a half or so, because both, I mentioned to Jeff and Joe that we had this DEEP grant, which we also have now gotten another extension on. So we have time to put together a grant. And so the intention will be we can meet, put together a project plan for getting this done. This could be sort of an artifact that will help a lot in terms of showing it, as, because part of that grant money is to hire a consultant to help with some of this route development. So if we have this and we can say, hey, this can be a pedestrian trail tomorrow, we need help now integrating a multi-use path that will kind of complement this. That's part of what the money could be used for.
Yeah, and so the SS4A grant was a planning grant. And so I don't think this is the comprehensive plan. This is an idea. It shows, somebody who's issuing grants that we've been thinking about it. But I think what you're saying is spot on. We need to take a step back. We say, here's an idea, but it's not the only idea. And we would, if we could get a planning grant to say, what's the comprehensive idea? That's the best way to do it. Because we're not just locked into this is it. I mean, this shows one possibility.
So sorry, is the DEEP grant that you guys are looking at, a particular one, is at first a planning grant to do what you're describing? And then, okay, so we can use
It starts as a planning grant.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Awesome. I think this is really cool. Thank you both for your, my husband's a runner, so I
Have you ever swam across? You gotta find out.
He probably has, I will say. So I definitely, he complains all the time that there aren't enough trails to run on, so this is a really cool project. So as far as what you need from the committee, should
Well,
we?
let me just finish going through this real
Yeah.
fast. So we reviewed prior plans, we did preliminary field work. This is aligned, and I think as an argument to get a planning grant, we can say this is aligned with our POCD, our open space plan, and our complete streets policy. So we've got other policies. We're not just we're kind of crackpots, but, you know, we're not total crackpots just out doing this. And then, you know, what needs to be validated? We need to get the trail alignments, you know, conceptual design guidance on this, which is what the planning grant would do. And look at the, you know, short, medium, and long-term goals. Because there are some areas that we've got to get, you know, right-of-ways on. And then there's bridges to be built. And those things are, it's complicated. You know, we've got to get easements, we've got to get environmental studies, so that's complicated. And then, you know, a lot of this is we've got to get, you know, I guess make an argument, because the town's going to have to match money.
Yeah.
Because we can't get this all, but the town's going to have to match probably 20%. And then look at the priorities, year 1, 3, 3, 5, and get this thing planned out in terms of phases. And here are some of the grants that I came across. I don't know if you've looked at all this, but there's the CT Recreational Trails Program, Open Space Watershed Land Acquisition, so we might be able to get some money for land acquisition as well, or even, you know, sometimes you're going to buy easements. And there's a Greenway Small Grants Program. And this, I don't know if this is the one you're looking at. Do you know which one it is?
It's I think it's recreational.
Trails program?
Yeah.
Okay. But I came across 3, so, you know, and then I think,
And the Greenway, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. The Greenway Small Grants?
I think it was the recreational trails grant.
Recreation, yeah.
But we're gonna have to convince the
Yeah. I
the
was gonna say-
RTM that, you know, to match the money too.
And also, I mean, conservation is in charge of open spaces, right?
Yeah, in concert, so Mary Hogue has really prompted me to, you know, she keeps asking me, so where's Joe? And-
Yeah, I can try to get in touch with her.
Oh, no, she's on,
She's on the conservation committee?
I believe she is.
What committees is this?
If she's not, she's like really well wired into it.
Okay,
This is in the forestry committee.
so I think, yeah, so I was gonna say, an endorsement from us, I think we can
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
vote on that tonight, to help move this stuff forward and then come up with a plan, but yeah, we'll have to, like, I mean, we'd have to present, I mean, after we get conservation buy-in, I think then present to the first selectman's office
for
and
sure.
loop in the grants manager,
And we're gonna want other sort of state representative buy-in too, once we
Yeah.
get past that.
Yeah, that's gonna be, I mean, we know all the state reps,
Yeah.
so it's gonna, that's like,
that I think is
that's a text.
problem.
Will you support this? Yeah.
Yeah, but the bigger thing is getting
Yeah, the
those
money.
office, like the first selectman on board, because
the-
then that's getting the RTM.
It's the match.
Yeah,
The match is gonna be the
20%.
tricky part.
So, but yeah, I think this is great. So, does anybody have any questions for these guys?
I actually have a few.
Sure.
One is, are there certain standards for East Coast Greenway? I mean, for this to be a part of it?
So the East Coast Greenway, that's kind of how we started on this, because I got somehow, I don't know how I got connected with the East Coast Greenway guys, and then Alex was talking to them. But the East Coast Greenway is currently a dotted line on roads. And so it's not improved. So this would not be part of the East Coast Greenway.
Okay, because I know that had been initially
That was
part of it.
That was the initial thing.
Yeah, okay.
But in looking
But
at the route as it stands now, like there is an East Coast Greenway that goes through Fairfield. It's on relatively protected roads in areas that, like,
More affluent.
yeah, they're more affluent. It would be hard to, because like part of what this grant money would do would be to have separate trails that are like separate from traffic. And given the way that, of course, we can also make suggestions on how to change the greenway to meet certain, you know, needs of our community, whether it be for, you know, whatever, transportation equity or economic drivers, yeah, whatever, however you want to call it. But, you know, so we could change it, but then in learning more about how the grant money can be used, there seem to be better opportunities that could, enhance the community and accessibility, through other areas that aren't already pretty safe to ride on and, don't feel like they need that much improvement at the
Sure.
moment.
The other thing I was just gonna mention is, I'm literally just starting, we're kind of just on the cusp of starting a project. My firm, which we're Rockland County Greenway, I don't know, shared use path, which is basically, kind of paralleling the Palisades
Yeah,
from the top to the bottom. And so I've heard some feedback. There was a planning stage for that. And while I'm still very much in the learning stage about this project, the one thing that has struck me is just how profoundly different the final design will be from the planning stage. That what the planners had kind of proposed isn't really viable.
Not feasible.
Yeah.
Well, we went through,
But it was also an instance where they were stitching together
yeah.
existing.
We went through parcel by parcel on this. So we went through the tax maps. So I think we got, it's like, is it 90% accurate, do you think?
Yeah, well, what I was also gonna say is that even on the map already, and I can, because I built it in QGIS and I can share it with everyone, but all the dotted lines and colors and things are also indicative of the feasibility of each section. I also put that in mind.
Oh,
that,
that's great.
Yeah, really easy sections are denoted with circles. Somewhat hard sections are denoted diamonds to acquire, and then the really hard sections are with crosses. Long story short, some of the ones with circles, like the thing we already did, are town-owned right-of-ways, where we already have the permission to be there, it's conserved. Somebody just needs to, like we did, go out and just whack it down and mark a trail, and then that's basically it.
Can you get some Boy Scouts or
That's a great idea.
It would be.
Very great idea.
It would be great.
Girl Scouts?
Actually, they're called Scouts now. They're not called Boy Scouts. So, short answer is yes. And I've got a lot of networks in town, and the town. Well, I used to be the scoutmaster for the town, for the troop that's sponsored by the town. So that is the right troop to do this. But yes, this would be a great series of Eagle projects.
Yeah.
And just one other thing related to what you were saying that just came to mind, we're gonna go out and get grant money in support of something, right? And it doesn't have to be, this can be done. If this needs to be done, I think there can be, as I think Jeff was alluding to, there are different grants that will serve different purposes. And, if this is something that we can do, great. And then, if there's a sort of multi-use trail that we, get grant money for more planning, then this will be a highlight in that route planning that the consultant comes up with.
But most of those planning grants, the result is basically this plus the cost associated with it.
Well, this is a couple of, this is basically tactical urbanism. We kind of know what we're doing. I mean, Joe's an end user. I know the tax maps. I think we're probably 75% good on this as a schematic. But in order to make this go through, we would need, so there's two things that are expensive. One of them is a bridge, because a bridge isn't just the cost of putting the planks across. If this is an official bridge, we're gonna have to get a permit. And getting the permitting through is complicated.
Wetlands, it's environmental review, yeah.
Yeah, so that's complicated. And the second is the easements. And I don't, Sandy, you might know better, but I don't know if we need a permit to put a trail in.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we probably do.
I would think so.
Unless, on Boynton's Hill Road, that used to be a road, so I had no compunction about tagging it. And so we went through and we put those little plastic tags on it. But if it's not a existing road or an existing trail, we probably need to get a permit. Even some of the existing trails probably aren't permitted. So and they're insensitive, they're in wetlands. So, that's where we would need a grant to
Yeah.
do this, to basically go through permitting and make this official.
So do you hire a planner or do you hire an engineer?
I think
Are we,
a planner, I think.
but we would need to have money to
You
hire
need,
the.
you need money to,
So I don't want to get too far ahead of our.
yeah, it's like,
selves
you
on-
you first need a
in this
grant to
conversation,
do the
right?
planning.
Yes, yeah.
And that's a couple $100,000,
No,
something.
no.
Yeah, like 50,000, something like that. You need a,
I'm guessing this is $20,000-$30,000.
no, because they have to come up with an estimate, because that's the,
I don't think an estimate's hard. I mean, I don't think this isn't that hard.
I think it's,
All right.
I just.
I feel like for,
my
sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I feel like we're running out of time.
No,
So-
But yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be very expensive.
Okay, we can figure that out. Yeah, okay.
could be
So
wrong, but-
as far as for tonight, what we can do is, as a committee, we can kind of vote to endorse sorry, can you go back to the wording that you had before?
No, I didn't know you could vote on one night. You guys are so
I don't
decisive.
know, I mean, I think we're just voting to move forward, no?
Motion to approve or something, right?
Can you just go back, you had wording up there.
Oh, yeah, let's see what I have here. Endorsement from B&P. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like we can endorse the plan to move forward, right? What is the line, I don't know, I'm new at this chair thing, so you guys can help me.
Here's what I can volunteer to do. I've got an outline for a plan for this, and the plan is mostly policy related, so I can just crank out a plan, which is kind of like the similar conceptual level as the bike and ped plan.
Okay,
So if you guys want me to do that, I don't want to go rogue. I mean, I already.
yeah, let's do that.
To approve you making this plan?
Sure.
Well, if you guys wanted to go and talk to conservation or something with like Alex or whoever from
Yes.
the committee, like I want to just be able to say that like the committee endorses
Yes.
like us moving forward with this,
I
right? So I don't know what the right language is, but
Conservation, forestry,
Yeah.
whomever else, if we get them on board, it will just make everything.
right,
much-
so I want you guys to be able to say that the committee supports moving forward with that. So whatever the motion is that encompasses that.
Just for clarity's sake, Jeff, am I joining you for these things? Because I'd
Absolutely.
be happy to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to go rogue on, I've already gone rogue, because I was going to go rogue and bring it to you guys, and as happenstance happened. 'Cause I was gonna-
You didn't go rogue only because I called you.
Okay,
Well, no,
so
but-
I don't know what
yeah,
the,
so,
I
no,
don't,
but my intent was to put this presentation before you guys. I thought it would be like a month from now or something, and.
But here we are.
Here we are, yes.
all right, so I don't know what the right wording is, but I would like to. I would like to-
yeah.
I would like to have a motion to say that the bike ped committee endorses moving this forward so that you guys
That's good.
can go to conservation and whoever else. Anybody?
What you just said.
Okay, great.
Motion to approve moving,
Great.
providing a bike and ped endorsement
For this project.
North-south
Moving
pedestrian
this project forward.
trail.
Great, okay, awesome. Do you have a second?
Oh, I second that.
Okay, all in favor? say
Aye. Fairfield's Trail and
Aye.
Greenway Master Plan.
aye. Okay.
All right, keep in
I don't hear
touch
any-
Yeah.
and let me
Thank you.
know. I will, also
Yeah,
keep you
we can-
and Mike
Yeah,
in
I'll
the
follow
loop
up
on
with
this.
the-
So just to,
plan, all the stuff we
make
have.
sure we're aligned on who we should talk to, conservation
Forestry,
and forestry. I'll start with Mary, because she's networked with everybody.
yeah,
And she knows about this, and she.
okay,
Yeah, is open spaces,
that's under conservation.
it's under
I
conservation?
mean, there's also the
Parks.
wetlands, there's a wetlands committee too, so I don't know.
Yeah, but Mary's gonna know all that
Yeah,
stuff.
Mary will help, Mary will guide you.
Yeah. So my next step then, Alex, is to either have a Zoom call or in-person meeting with Mary Hoag,
Okay,
and just take her through this.
just, loop me in.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I need to add an agenda item that came up after I was talking to engineering. So I participated in a walk audit with Connecticut DOT and MetroCog as part of their active transportation plan on Post Road from Mill Plain to North Benson.
Should I put that in chairman's report?
Sure.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So there was a walk audit that MetroCog and Connecticut DOT did on Post Road from Mill Plain to North Benson as part of their active transportation plan. So there was representatives from the town and representatives from those other folks. One of the things that came up was whether or not the town has done an actual road safety audit on Post Road in that interval, which they have not. And at least not of recent memory. But the importance of a road safety audit is to get the state on board with looking at the Post Road and helping to propose changes that will make it better for, safer for cars, but also for pedestrians and cyclists. So a couple of years ago, we did this on Stratfield Road. They had a road safety audit that Connecticut DOT participated in, and that was kind of the impetus for all of the changes that are coming on Stratfield Road. So that got the Connecticut, the Four Corners is a separate project, but right now Stratfield Road, after this road safety audit, Krista McCarthy-Vahey was able to secure funding for then the town to hire a consultant to look at Stratfield Road and propose improvements. So those improvements were what Anya and I went to a couple weeks ago for the public information meeting. So what I would like to do tonight is have the committee endorse the town securing a road safety audit of Post Road. So this will allow, just kind of put some weight behind engineering asking Connecticut DOT to kind of put us on their list. It could be a long list or a short list, I'm not really sure. If it's super long, then the town can kind of take on the road safety audit themselves and just invite CTDOT. So there's a few mechanisms, but I'd like to vote to endorse moving forward with that to kind of help engineering put some weight behind asking DOT.
I make a motion to endorse the DOT to do an audit on Post Road.
A road
Walk
safety
road
audit.
safety audit on Post Road.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Great.
And Francisco seconded it.
Yeah, I second. No, I second. And just gotta mention, I was at AASHTO conference this week, and one of the main topics that the commissioner actually talked about was, Garrett, was road safety.
Yeah.
That was, the only panel he talked was that one,
Yeah.
about road safety.
We're really lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything under committee reports that they'd like to share quickly?
I guess I should quickly let everyone know that the
Oh, yeah.
Vision Zero panel discussion will be on June 25th, which is a Wednesday at 6:30. It will be divided into two parts. There will be a few activities to start for participants. There'll be a map. It sounds like we're going with a paper map, not a virtual map, where people can put stickers on intersections or corridors that they identify as concerning in terms of safety. And then there'll be another, and then we'll have like a quiz to identify, like, what do you know about Vision Zero? And, I just ran something through AI and came up with, generated like 1,000 questions that were pretty good, honestly. But I'll put in a little more effort than the 3 minutes I initially spent. And then we'll have something with jars where people can kind of put in a marble to indicate what their highest priority is in terms of safety. The panel discussion will, you're going to be better at the names here, Sarah, than I will.
Yeah, so
We'll include Emma.
Yeah, so Emmeline Harrigan, who's our planning director, agreed to participate. Hector Irizarry, who's oversees the traffic safety unit, agreed to participate on our panel. And then we have a couple other folks outstanding, which of course I can't remember right now, but engineering, we'd like to. Rich Donovan, who's, he works for, the Valley Cog, Naugatuck Valley Cog. Sorry.
Sagatog.
It's getting late, my brain's shutting down. He's agreed to participate.
He'll be the moderator.
He'll be the moderator. We also asked one of the representatives from MetroCog to participate, and then engineering folks, and I think
Yeah, Bill.
and Frank Batiste, we also asked because he oversees Stamford's traffic, but he's a Fairfield resident who serves on the local traffic authority.
Waiting on him.
We're waiting on a few folks. But it's all starting to come together and it's,
Amazing, exciting.
And I thank you for agreeing to do the deck.
Yeah, so I haven't
Sounds like
received,
You're working
I
with.
haven't received stuff from Richard yet,
Okay.
but waiting for that. What's the other thing? At Ashton also spoke with some people from, I think it's UConn, has like the safety training center or something like that.
the
Yeah, that thing. And they have all these gadgets and stuff that help you. Like they have to put goggles on you so you can mimic what is it to have like tunnel vision, like walking down the street, or what is it to be like, you know, somebody with reduced mobility. So they have all these vests with weights and stuff like that. So you like walk and it's
Oh,
really
that's
hard to.
cool.
And so I was trying to. So they were open to like the idea of coming. I don't know if like if you guys it would be interesting to actually pursue that to have them like and they have all these things and gadgets so you try and like what is it
That's
to
more
be
fun than playing marbles and.
I thought it was like, oh, this is cool and like
I agree.
That's a heck of a lot better.
they give you a neck brace so this is what is for people that can't like
That could be really cool.
So
Do you have a contact?
yeah so I actually talked to like
Oh.
yeah so yeah I'll pursue that I just kind of
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like-
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Sounds great.
Ed Bacon. That's what he used to do, right?
Did he?
Yeah, that was his
I
class.
remember, I heard him.
That was his
speak
class, yeah.
at My first, like one of my
Anya.
first days of planning school.
Sorry.
Anya, do you want to give a quick update for the safety
Um,
So
plan?
just, when and where is this?
June 25th at the library at 6:30. So I
Yeah, it
hope.
would be great to have the whole committee there, I think.
Main library.
Pardon?
The main library.
Yes.
Well, you know everything. Safe Street
I'm trying
Alliance,
not to talk as much.
What time?
Safe Streets,
6:30.
Safe Streets campaign is launching officially on, oh, I put it in the spreadsheet.
June
I don't
17th.
have it. June 17th, there's going to be a big press event outside of the Fairfield Main Library. We're going to talk about Vision Zero, et cetera. We're going to launch a survey a few weeks before that on May 23rd, written by yours truly. The survey is meant to gauge people's understanding of road safety issues around Fairfield and perception of road safety issues, and compare that to how things look following the campaign to see how kind of measure the effectiveness. So yeah, those are two big launch dates, and then there's a lot more coming. There's videos being made, there's social media posts, there's graphics, there's brochures, there's handouts, there's magnets that go
Who's doing all
to
the social
cars.
media?
It's a combination of Lisa, Claire, and leveraging Rachel Chappa at the schools. And Santina's involved. She's been doing some.
And it's going on what channels?
They are
The
everything.
town channels.
All the town channels are also starting their own Facebook.
I mean, we'll promote it through
page.
the committee also.
We'll promote it. Yeah, we're not owning stuff as the committee.
I did get
It's
the
separate.
sense that. was
Yeah,
the case, but I was
no, this
just
is like coming from the first selectman's office,
Yeah.
so.
That was.
We're just part of one of the many people who are involved with this.
Yeah, but
That's
if
great.
you're able to come to the press conference that's
When is
scheduled
the press conference?
at 11, I think, at the library,
Press con, 11, which day?
June 17th.
Yes.
Oh,
Tuesday,
shoot, I
June
think I have to be in
17th,
New York on that day.
11 a.m. You can make it, Ethan.
You have to be in New York.
But this is like a good, when we talk about like the 3 E's of the stuff, like we have the engineering, the road infrastructure stuff, and the education. This is a really good way to reach a whole bunch of people, hopefully, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
Any other
You're
business?
Real quick.
Yeah.
So I've made a lot of real progress on the complete streets.
Oh, awesome.
You did a fantastic job.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Practically cutting it in half. It's
Harder to write a short letter.
It looks really good, I think.
Yeah, when we spoke, we talked about wanting to make it more succinct. I mean, I think West Hartford's is like 8 pages. I think that's too short.
Yeah, probably.
But I have a lot of questions, and I think it would be productive either if I could, rather than just, marking it up on the Google Doc, it would be better to kind of go over
Let me know.
some of the And a lot of it's sort of aspirational. It says, this kind of should happen, but it's not real clear how it's actually going to be.
Yeah, I probably had some
Implemented.
similar comments, so.
And then you made a number of comments about, equity being controversial, but
Yeah.
so much of Smart Growth America's whole thing for Complete Streets has to do with serving underserved communities and populations. So that's, you wouldn't want to jeopardize getting funding, but there's got to be a happy medium somewhere, right? So,
What do you mean, we should consider the needs of school children and senior citizens?
Crazy, right?
What kind of person are you?
Yeah,
Exactly, this is the stuff, I'm looking at this like, oh my God.
I think that's definitely like a thing we just have to have a conversation about and figure out. how
And that's why, I wasn't gonna start writing things
Yeah.
into the Google Doc along those lines, but I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
What do you, just, if you want to sit down and go through it and coffee shop or wherever, we can do that, but just let me know.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Anybody else?
Thank you.
All of this.
I don't know, I care about this stuff, and I don't know, I had like 3 or 4 really years from hell for my work stuff, and that's beyond me, so.
All right. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?